ISCA after I'd been in the service for a long time. I've been in iRacing for well over a decade, and spent most of my time in NASCAR series, a lot of fixed racing for the most part, and really just got to a point in my iRacing career where I really wanted to get involved in open setup racing versus fixed, partially because I was just looking for a little higher level of competition, you know, maybe a little cleaner driving, and maybe get away from some of the challenges that go along with fixed racing on the service. And it took me a while as I was really searching out leagues, because I kind of had a very specific thing I was looking for. A, I wanted to be an established league. You know, B, I just really wanted clean, quality drivers to be racing around. And once I found the ISCA, I found out really quick that it was going to check all those boxes, and I've been with the ISCA ever since. I think the things I like the most about the ISCA is it's a developmental league, but it's also a league that's got some veteran drivers. And I think really what I was looking to do was try to surround myself with some people to better my talent, my skill, and my craft. And that's one thing the ISCA has really delivered. It's got great quality drivers. You learn how to race in close quarters around some of these other people. And I think the other thing, when you do look at the developmental side, you know, once I joined the ISCA, my I rating has soared, my safety rating is better than it's ever been. And it's also really great to see drivers that join our league, you know, really excel over time, some of which stay with the league and some that maybe move on to some bigger things, which is really exciting. We have a great history of developing drivers. We have a great alumni list. But I just really enjoy, you know, participating in the league and just continue to get better each week that goes by. Yeah, the competition in the ISCA is awesome. I think a lot of us talk about it, you know, each week of just how blessed we are to have such a high level of driving capabilities and just a quality group of drivers overall. And I think that's just still, I think the thing I like the most about the ISCA. You build a lot of friendships, a lot of camaraderie. You know, we're really competitive on Thursday and Saturday nights, but it's really fun also after the race to kind of review the race start to finish. And we do a lot of coaching about what's working, what's not working. Not saying we give away all of our secrets, but I think anyone that joins it, there's a common theme. A, you know, they get better each week, their I rating goes up. We see them in strength of field races over time, you know, week in, week out. And that's just something that's really fun. Even though we compete, we really appreciate the league we participate in. And I think in most cases, we're highly competitive with some of the best and cleanest drivers on the service. And if you like long green flag runs, you know, we don't have a lot of cautions in our races. We tend to have green flag pit stops. But those are just some things that I really enjoy about the league the most, is the quality of the competition, the lack of cautions, and just the long runs that really leads to some really awesome racing. Yeah, I think people that should join the ISCA are people like myself. When I go back a few years ago and I was really looking to up my game and get involved in open setup league racing, you know, for so long I just wasn't involved in that because I just didn't, well, A, I didn't seek it out, but I really didn't also know how to get started. And once I started doing research, it was a really easy choice that the ISCA was a place I really wanted to be and get involved with. And all those things I talked about earlier have happened to me, you know, from improving I rating, improving my skill. And, you know, I'm someone that I really enjoy the ISCA. I'll probably stay there, but don't think that, you know, if you're coming to the ISCA that it's something long-term. In some cases you can find a long-term home like a lot of us, but we develop drivers, and ultimately we'd like to see our drivers participate for a period of time and hopefully move their way up the ranks, whether that be into Road to Pro or Contender Series, or hopefully get to the Coke Series. That's really the goal of what we want to be, is an established league with great drivers, but also a league that's going to develop drivers into bigger and better things.
Hello and welcome everyone to the ISCA Thursday Cup Series as we present the Crackle Barrel 250 at Worldwide Technology Raceway, otherwise known as Gateway. This is going to be an interesting racetrack, very much a driver's track for sure. We're going to probably see some shifting, definitely, and some braking for sure. Of course, this is a big egg-shaped place, very odd-shaped, very flat as well. Of course, my name is Brian Britton. I'm joined in the booth by none other than Big Al, Alfonso Nixon. How you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, doing pretty good, Brian. Excited to be here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. And like you said, this is a track not like any other that's on the circuit because this is one track where turns 3 and 4 is totally different than 1 and 2.
Yeah, a lot of people have even likened this track to almost like Darlington, except for you don't really run against a wall. It's more towards the bottom line that you run. But it's definitely going to be interesting. This is a track that takes a lot of skill. And you mentioned 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 being vastly different. Well, that is going to be a big part of this. Having your setup correctly, I'd say built for both 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, which is another reason this is like Darlington in a lot of ways, to where you have to. You're going to sacrifice something in one corner and gain something in another, but you're not going to have the perfect car, I'd say.
Now, the one difference between these two tracks, though, between this track and Darlington, like you said, this track is flat. Number two, you're not shifting at Darlington because turns 1 and 2 are not that tight. This is a tight 1 and 2, so drivers are not going to have any choice but to shift in this 5-speed sequential. I think most guys will be running a 4-gear setup, so be interested to see what gears they do choose.
100%. Let's take a look at the race facts for this evening's action. Of course, 200 laps we're going to be on the docket here tonight, so quite a long one here at Gateway. Stages are 40 and 90. 4 sets of tires down in the pits. Of course, the fuel window is 75. I actually talked a little bit to Matt DiCiani, driver of the One Machine, to kind of see what the what to expect. And it is around 75, but it could be 68 to 75. It all really depends on your gear ratio. Now, that is something that is going to be pretty big here. A lot of drivers running vastly different gears, Big Al.
Yeah, absolutely. Drivers are going to have to take every advantage they can here tonight in order to get that edge, Brian, and I think that's going to be the difference.
100%. Let's take a look at the points coming into tonight's race for the Cup Series. Of course, the Cup Series points, I do believe we're getting closer and closer to the end of the Cup Series. Brian Johnson right now at the top of the board, 41-point lead over Brandon Pasalacqua. And I'll tell you, I was putting up the flyers for Pasalacqua. Thing was like he's missing in action. We almost even had a memorial service for Brandon Pasalacqua, but he is back in action here tonight. So he's going to be definitely looking to get himself running really good to get some points. Of course, Josh Schaffner is in third place. Patrick Gitter fourth. He has been the one that we have been talking about for week in and week out. Kenny Powell sits in fifth. Matt DiCiani in sixth. Seventh, Chris Johnson. Shane Parrish in eighth. Ninth, Scott Naslin in 10th. Randy Mullins. And let's take a quick look at the Super Cup points. Pulled those up on there. And, of course, Brandon Pasalacqua was still in the points lead for the Super Cup, only by 3 points, though. Brian Johnson back there in second. Kenny Powell is in third. John Schaffner fourth. Scott Naslin's in fifth. Chris Johnson sixth. Shane Parrish seventh. Greg Wachinski eighth. Matt DiCiani in ninth. Randy Mullins rounds out the top 10. Let's actually look at the team points. We don't look at these a lot. And one thing that I'll tell you that's changing quite a bit is the points lead from G and G. Usually we see them as the dominant team here in the ISCA, but I'll tell you, EPI has been running them down. Only a 70-point buffer right now, Big Al. That's pretty big. We could end up seeing EPI overtake G and G at some point.
It's all about consistency, and those EPI guys have been consistently showing up week in and week out, Brian, and giving those G&G guys quite a handful. Looking at the track temp, though, looks like that ambient air temperature is 85 degrees. Track temps 113 degrees during qualifying. So we're going to be watching that with the winds are going to be out of, I believe, the north at 9 miles an hour. Cloudy skies, mostly cloudy skies, cover this racetrack as well as qualifying is almost over. What do you think we should be looking forward to seeing here tonight? What are your projections here for this race?
Well, I think the keys to winning this race is going to be about being consistent and not burning your equipment up. That's going to be the big thing. Guys that are really fast early, they're not going to be fast later. The fall off at this racetrack is huge. You see about 2 to 3 seconds, maybe even 4 seconds of fall off. These guys are going to be hitting about probably a low 34, mid 34 second lap at first, and they're going to fall all the way off to a 37, 38 second lap. That's dramatic. Of course, qualifying is wrapping up, as you mentioned. I think now's the perfect time to go ahead and take a step away, play our national anthem. We'll be right back.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular amongst birds singing out, yeah, through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the
And now, race fans, for the most famous words in motorsports.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
We believe it means more when something's made by hand here at Cracker Barrel, and we hope you think so too. So stop on by. You're always welcome.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us
please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so comfortable, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We have the grid set for this evening's action. Brian Johnson going to be starting on the pole with a 33.922. Scott Naslin qualifies in second place. Third place going to be Shane Parrish, Matt DeCiani in fourth. Fifth place, Brandon Pasalacqua, Josh Schaffner in sixth. Seventh place, Kenny Powell, Mark Sanchez in eighth. Ninth place, Greg Wachinski, Greg Carr in 10th. And 11th, Alexander Carr.
That's going to put Randy Mullins in 12th with Jordan Sellers starting in 13th. 14th shows J.C. Evans and Blair Holloman. And then in 16th, we have Jamie Wright and Chris D. Johnson. 18th shows Al Koslowski. 19th, Derek Jacobs. 20th, Frank Flores. 21st place is Ryan Strunk. And rounded out this 22-car field is Jeffrey Ford.
Some new names there, too. I saw, what was that, Wright, I think you mentioned. Interesting to see a new face out there amongst the crowd. Love to see that for sure. And can't wait to see what these guys have in store. Looks like we're getting ready to start rolling here in just a moment as we tackle this 1.25-mile racetrack gateway. Lap times, you would think for a 1.25-mile racetrack, lap times will be a lot lower, but it just really shows how hard this track is. These guys are going to go from 170 mile an hour down to probably less than 100 through these corners. So you can tell that how tight this racetrack truly is, and very big opportunity potential for drivers to overdrive their race cars, Big Al. I mean, especially going into turn one after the green flag flies. I think that we could see some guys get really tight coming in. I mean, it's very easy to overshoot. This is a lot like what you see at a short track where, you have braking points.
Yeah, but I think that the biggest problem is going to be you got a lot of different skill sets out here tonight, Brian, and a lot of different setups. So you're going to see pretty much cars virtually on every corner of this racetrack. They're going to spread out. Lap traffic is going to be a big deal, and I think you should possibly get ready for some cautions.
Yeah, I think it could be a distinct possibility that we do end up seeing some cautions at some point. It just depends on how patient these guys are with one another. Pace car has dipped down pit road, and we're waiting for the Geico restart zone, and the green flag flies for the first time here in the Crackle Barrel 250. Brian Johnson with a pretty good restart. Scott Naslin, though, is matching him step for step here into turn 1 and 2. And it looks like Shane Parrish goes up a little bit high here. Go ahead.
That 22 Ford of Scott Naslin is going to be, he is actually driving a Z01. He is now going to be battling. Looks like he is going to get the advantage and try to take the lead. Brian Johnson still right there in his pocket, further back in the field, though. Still a little side by side, but starting to single itself out, Brian.
Yeah, it will start to single itself out quite a bit. I mean, these drivers, it's very difficult to stay side by side at a track like this, as we see a lot of guys starting to single file out. Still side by side, though, I do believe Josh Schaffner having to battle, I do believe, with Alexander Carr at the moment.
Yeah, looks like Mr. Sanchez really had the high step at there as he was side by side with the 55 of Jordan Sellers, not really taking the line that he wanted. So now Sanchez trying to battle back and get ready to see if he can kind of get his feet back under him. Randy Mullins, though, on the inside in the 54 car, looks like he is going to get his run back. Other than that, though, seems to be single file, follow the leader.
Yeah, we just saw Brian Johnson actually lose the lead. He is now back into fourth place. Scott Naslin now up to the top spot. Matt DeCiani driving it in deep on Shane Parrish is able to take over second. Of course, Kenny Powell sits in that sixth spot with Brandon Pasalacqua. Been gone for a while, but he's hitting the ground running, sitting in fifth.
Yep, looks like the 77 of Ryan Strunk is going to be down pit road right now. That is an unscheduled stop. Keep our eyes out on what's going on with that 77 car.
I'm wondering what happened. Did he hit the wall? Possibly, could very easily have been the case. He's going to go a lap down here after taking this unscheduled stop. Big stack up here. Brian Johnson has Brandon Pasalaco and Kenny Powell all over his back bumper. And I think Brian Johnson's doing this on purpose. I think he wants to save the tire. He knows that I can't drive it really hard at this moment. I have to try to maintain my equipment. This is a track where you really can't, you have to run your own race, Big Al. You can't fall to the peer pressure of the other drivers around you.
Yeah, and speaking of running your own race, it looks like Ryan Strunk does actually have a meatball flag. So repairs are required for the 77 car. We will be monitoring that NASCAR Camaro ZL1 to see how long it takes him to get back onto the fray.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to him. Must have had some contact possibly with the wall or another driver. I know Jeffrey Ford's quite a bit back from this pack, so I'm wondering maybe if he might have had an issue as well.
Yeah, Jeffrey Ford definitely bringing up the rear. Like you said, he is one of the newest drivers here, so we will be watching to see how he fares. Also back there with him, you got Frank Flores, Al Koslowski. But remember what I said, this track it's a true driver's track. So it's going to bring out the best, and it's going to actually start to showcase the weaknesses of some of those other drivers.
Oh, we got some contact with the wall there. Jordan Sailors hits the wall out of turn 2. That gives Randy Mullins the opportunity to take that spot. Here comes J.C. Evans. Now, Evans had a really good run going last week at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the long race. I do believe that was a 400-miler, if I'm not mistaken. That was a long one that we had last week, and I think J.C. has definitely taken a lot of that momentum that he had last week and probably trying to translate it here.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on here tonight, Brian. There's a lot of, let's talk about the temperature, okay, in the ISCA. It's heated, man. There's a lot of guys that are anxious, angry, and, not amicable.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There's a lot of guys that have long histories with one another, and a lot of times that does play out on the racetrack. We saw Randy Mullins get that spot from Jordan Sailors, but he has lost it again, and J.C. Evans has gotten the spot over him now. So I'm wondering what's going on here with Randy Mullins' race car. You see, of course, Chris Johnson starting to catch up. Mark Sanchez going way up the racetrack here. So a lot of these guys are starting to struggle early.
I think that's where Sanchez has just kind of been hanging out most of the race. I think his car is kind of programmed to run a little bit on the higher line there. But the 22, Scott Naslund, he has still not been able to get any wiggle room between himself and Matt DeCiani.
No, he hasn't for sure. Scott Naslund definitely looking really good right now, but I think that he's just trying to maintain a gap. He's not really trying to run away from Matt DeCiani. We'll have to wait and see. I know I've watched a couple official races this week in the actual official series A Open, and from what I've seen, it seems like Matt DeCiani has pretty good short run. We'll have to see how the long run progresses for them. If they've made adjustments, of course, definitely that API team always seems to figure out what they need to do before these Thursday races, that's for sure. So I would not be surprised that they're running a completely different updated setup.
Just a quarter of the way through stage 1 here, and so far it has been clean and green. The field is starting to kind of space out a little bit with the distance between the leader and the 20th place car is Jeffrey Ford, who is the last car on the lead lap, being just over 11 seconds, Brian.
Yeah, of course, Derek Jacobs soon probably to go a lap down as well, as he has been well off the pace last time by a 35-plus second lap. A lot of these guys are falling off quite substantially, already hitting that verging on 35-second laps. So you can just clearly see the fall off is quite substantial here, especially if you abuse that race car. And it's very easy to do here at a track like this, especially it being so flat.
And flat it is, and I think that's one of the biggest differences between this track and a track like, say, Darlington. You don't get the benefit of actually having that slope angle to kind of tote your car around. But looks like now that 22 car of Scott Naslund is getting a little bit of breathing room, as second place seems to be 0.4 of a second behind him.
And here comes the pass, I do believe, for the 5th position. Kenny Powell on the bottom here. Ryan Johnson trying to pinch him down as much as he can, but not able to get the run off the corner. And here comes Greg Wachinski as well. Wachinski looking really strong in that 5 machine. Josh Schaffner waiting in the wings as well, trying to see if he can't possibly get by Brian Johnson. Johnson, of course, started on the pole, but seems like he's struggling early.
Yeah, something's definitely going on with that 4-car, Brian. We'll definitely have to tune in a little bit closer and see what happens. Probably was a little bit of contact with the wall, and we know these cars don't have that concrete chin that we're used to. They seem to be a lot more egg-based, so they break a lot easier, and you can definitely feel the effects of an ill-handling car.
Tell you who I'm very impressed with. We talk about Carr. Well, what about Alexander Carr? He's up to 9th right now and is right behind Greg Wyszynski at the moment. He's having a banner day. Of course, was ran really good in the race we saw last week at Charlotte, and I think he's definitely gotten a lot more confidence after that. I know we actually were able to interview him for the first time last Thursday as well. I think you had the pleasure of talking to him.
No, you actually did. And
oh, did I? Okay.
He informed you that I was his favorite commentator. So, yeah, definitely shout out to Alexander Carr out there making it happen, doing everything that he does. Greg Carr, I believe, is his uncle. So those two are inspired together to be on the same racing team, man. And this is great to see a lot of the different teams that we have emerging here in the ISCA. It's really up in that competition level, man, as we're now 15 laps into this stage 1 here. Just 25 laps to go.
J.C. Evans just made his way up into the top 10 now. He sits in 10th. Of course, he has about a little under 2 seconds to go to get up there to Alexander Carr. So we'll have to wait and see if he's going to be able to do this. Of course, stage 1 will be in the books by lap 40 to 41. So we're verging on that halfway point here in the stage. Of course, tire wear is starting to be significant. This is going to be a huge step, I'd say, a huge testing point for a lot of these drivers to see what their car's doing, lay in some adjustments. Adjustments are going to be huge at a track like this, just considering it is a lot of it, I think, based on your setup and the way you drive it. So you really want it to be comfortable for you.
And they're really going to be waiting on that stage break, Brian, because I think that's the most opportune time to make any adjustments that you need. Right now, a lot of drivers are struggling. I mean, this track is going to bring out the drivertude. I mean, I'm going to bring that word up. That's my word, drivertude. It's going to really showcase drivers' abilities. And as this thing weighs on, I mean, we're just now we're just starting, man. It's going to be a long, arduous race. It's a 4-car now on the inside of the 50 of Josh Schaffner. These two guys are teammates. Brian Johnson started this thing on a pole. Now he finds himself back in 7th place, and now he's going to be slipping as Greg Wyszynski is going to be looking on his inside here, trying to gain ground. And just like that, here comes Alexander Carr as well.
Yeah, it looks like Brian Johnson's struggling with a loose condition or something like that. I saw him in 1 and 2. He got really sideways when Schaffner, when he went by, tried to pass Schaffner. So I see that he is definitely going to have to get back to the drawing board, make some adjustments to that race car. He has a really good pace when it comes to qualifying speed, but a track like Gateway, qualifying, track position is great, but you have to be able to maintain race pace. And you can see the lap times right now. Looking at him right now, Brian Johnson, 36-second lap versus everybody else is a half a second faster.
But hold on a second, though, bud. Let me just interject. Maybe his car's set up for the longer run. I mean, at this point, Brandon Pasalakwa needs the stage win. All Brian needs to do is just sit out there and just run a good, consistent race and pick up some stage points. If his car's set up for the long run, once we get past stage 2, I mean, he's going to come into his own. I wouldn't really throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet. I think guys really got to just realize what kind of setups they're running.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree. I think that, Brian might be – I would never count him out. Brian Johnson is not one that you ever write off unless he's completely destroyed. That's for sure. And so I definitely expect that he's gonna make something happen, and he's very good at making adjustments to that race car too. So if something does need to be changed, he'll be good. And maybe his car is set up for when the track conditions change because, they will end up changing eventually, I do believe.
Yeah, we're halfway through this first stage right now, and the track temp has already dropped 5 degrees. It was 113 degrees once we were qualifying. Now the track temp itself is down 108 degrees. So I think guys have just got to get out there and you got to run what you brung, man. The driver has got to figure it out. Maybe the car's not going to fall in this lap, but he has still got to be your driver. Looking at the 55 of Jordan Sellers, he's actually starting to fall off a little bit as well. So the 27 and the 55 now, I'm not sure. I think it looks like he's coming down pit road.
Yeah, it does look like it. He is on the access road. And it looks like he is actually maybe having some blinking issues, or he possibly Alt F forward there. So something not going right for Mr. Sailors. He is now a lap down. Unfortunate there. Had a strong start to the run and just has had I got to be honest, a terrible season. Jordan Sailors, I expected a lot from that driver, but unfortunately has just not been able to bring it.
Yeah, and I believe he is actually manually disconnected, as well as Ryan Strunt. So that's going to leave that field down to 20 now, Brian.
Yeah, of course, looking at the front, Scott Naslin is pulled away. He's at 1.7 seconds now, almost 2 seconds of a lead. He has got a very good long-run car, and I think a lot of that possibly could be as well put to the clean air that he is able to benefit from at the moment. Of course, Matt DeCiani is starting to be pressured by his teammate Shane Parrish. Now, we know how good Parrish is on the long run. We've heard even Patrick Gitter and Matt DeCiani both say that he has superior long run when it comes to those two.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something to watch. And I do believe maybe something happened there with the 4-car Brian Johnson, because remember when we started this thing, he was battling lap by lap with Scott Naslin in the 22. So maybe he burned his equipment up prematurely. But the one car right now that needs to be worried about it, that's the 27 of Derek Jacobs, because right now, Brian, he's in jeopardy of going a lap down.
That he is, and this is quite a complicated racetrack as well. And we already know Derek Jacobs has a lot of growth to do, and at a track like this, it's going to take a lot of laps. He's just going to have to hope that he is able to stay on the lead lap, or at least have the lucky dog. That way he gets a little bit of a buffer when that caution for the stage does come out. Now, of course, I do believe we're verging on 16 laps to go here.
Yes, still a very long way to go in this stage, and I'm afraid though, Brian, getting caught this soon, he might not be able to fight off the wolves or the infection, if you will. He might find himself going more than just one lap down, because this track is hard to get out of the way.
It is, it really is. And looking at someone else that's having to fight off the wolves is Matt DeCiani. He went from now second all the way back to, I do believe, 6th place. He's high up on the top and losing spots by the second.
And another one bites the dust, as Clean would say. And I think we're going to be watching that, because that sounds like it might be the story of the night. Shane Parrish now, he's the next guy up to try to reel in the 22 car, Scott Naslin, who is on the bumper to 27. It's going to be interesting to see how the 27 car, Derek Jacobs, plays this. You think he's going to get out of the way? You think he's going to kind of stay out there and just kind of mix it up a little bit? Because you got to find the right place to pass here as well.
Yeah, I think he'll get out of the way. I mean, it just really depends on where Scott Naslin catches him. Looking at lap times, though, I mean, Scott Naslin is running some really, really good laps. I mean, last time by, he was one of the fastest cars on the track. The only people that were faster, which is shocking, is Brian Johnson was faster, and also Chris Johnson. Both of those drivers in the 35-second lap range, high 35s, but Scott Naslin's in the low 36s. So we're seeing a lot of discrepancies and variations when it comes to lap times right now, and I think that watch out for Brian Johnson. I think you hit it right on the head. I feel like he has a better long run, and I think that might have been he was saving tires.
I mean, why wouldn't you? If you're capable of doing it, and we know he is, I mean, there's two guys we know that are capable of saving tires. Let's just be honest. It's Josh Schaffner, Brian Johnson. So if Johnson is running his own race, then, yeah, I wouldn't count him out. I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. Scott Naslin, though, out to now 2.6 seconds of a lead, and he's still steadily pulling away. But Brandon Passalacqua has caught up to the back of Shane Parrish, so I think we might end up having a fight for second place here very soon.
Good to see Brandon back. Definitely miss calling his name in the excitement. Brandon Passalacqua, because he does bring excitement. This guy was actually dominating the series here for a while. Then he went missing, I mean, kind of like, me on Father's Day. Anyway.
Well, it shows you how dominant he truly was. just considering, you know, we looked at the points before the race began, and he only barely has lost the Cup Series points. You know, it just showed how much of a buffer he already had and was able to leave for a few weeks and come back and hit the ground running like this. He doesn't look like he's had any rust at all. Looks like he's just really been able to just get right back into the swing of things. As we see Kenny Powell getting by Shane Parrish. Parrish now in danger of losing the 5th spot. Or, yeah, actually losing the 4th spot, I should say. And looks like Schaffner might get that pass completed.
So you're saying this guy was just messing with us? Like he took time off just to go back and just relax, and then he comes back, swims to the front, takes a lead again.
Yeah, I think so. As we see, of course, Derek Jacobs has gone a lap down. Brandon or Scott Naslin now over 3 seconds ahead of the rest of the field.
And this is what I was talking about with Derek Jacobs. The hard part about this track is once you go a lap down, you really are off the pace. So that one lap could quickly become 2, because by the time Jacobs gets his foot back in this thing, you know, he's going to have Scott Naslin coming right back up behind him. We still got 9 laps to go in this thing before the first stage is in the books.
Yeah, 100%. I've been really impressed as well with Kenny Powell tonight. He looks really good. And I actually think he's won a couple official races as well. So it's not a surprise, really, to see him doing this well. But I know a lot of times he suffers from bad luck. But it looks like he's definitely got that rabbit's foot in his race car tonight.
Yeah, definitely good to see Kenny on the podium right now, and he is definitely reeling in the 6 of Brandon Pasalacqua. So I don't think he's done yet. I think you could see Powell possibly. There he goes right there past Brandon Pasalacqua. Now he is in P2. Now, if he's running this strong in the first stage, Brian, I think you're right. If he can stay out of the way, stay up front, make those good, smart pit decisions, yeah, I think Powell could be a guy that we're going to be talking about a lot here towards the rest of the evening.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And one other driver that has been really a big mover has been Chris Johnson. He's now up to 8th place. He started deep in the field, I do believe, well outside of the top 15, if I'm not mistaken.
17th.
Yeah, so he's 17th, and he's up to 8th now. So watch out for that 99. Now that he has less cars to go through, when this second stage starts, I think he's going to be one that's going to be on the move.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But right now, our biggest mover is going to be the 24 Kenny Powell, starting back in 7th, currently in P2. So he's got to be feeling pretty good about himself. But Brian Johnson is starting to reel in the field now. He is back up to 5th place, Brian, and he's got that look in his eye. I can see it. His headlights are flashing.
Yeah, for sure. Here comes John Schaffner, though, to the inside of Pasalacqua. Going to be challenging for the 3rd spot. Looks like he's going to move up onto the podium as we're coming up to 6 laps to go here in stage 1. You see Matt DeCiani. I tell you, he was up to 2nd there for quite a bit. Now has fallen outside the top 10. The one definitely is in much need of a lot of changes to that race car.
And you're looking at his lap times, and they're just miserable. And I know he's not having fun. When you got an ill-handling race car, it usually ends up with an ill-mooded driver. So everybody in that team is going to be feeling the effects of that. And hopefully they can stay calm, not get frustrated, make those necessary adjustments, you know, lick their wounds and get back out here and be competitive in the second stage.
Yeah, him and Shane Parrish are starting to struggle. I mean, you see Shane Parrish just got passed by Chris Johnson, so he moves back to 8th place. And lap time-wise, looking at him, a 37.3 for Shane Parrish. And that is a half a second or more slower than the rest of the guys in front of him. So even though the 66 is known for his long-run speed, it does not seem to be the case here tonight at Gateway. So much-needed adjustments on those race cars. Hopefully they're able to get them in.
Yeah, and because right now we're looking 7th, 8th, and 9th. So we got Chris D. Johnson, Shane Parrish, and Alex in the car. Those are my 3 Ford Mustangs that are running in this race tonight, with the exception of Jeffrey Ford, who's all the way back in 18th. But they are all struggling. So I don't think that's something that's a design series problem. I think these guys just got to get down there and make some adjustments to get back out here and get competitive.
A little bit of a hit on the wall there for Schaffner as he was going to make the pass on Kenny Powell. Powell goes to the inside for the crossover. Schaffner had the pass completed, but got a little bit tight off the exit of 2. Still side by side for second place. This is going to allow Scott Naslin to pull away even further. Might even extend his lead to 4 seconds as they still are battling. And you could tell as these tires are wearing, it's getting harder and harder to try to make these passes.
Yeah, I don't know. Those G&G guys, though, seem to be running very strong as they are. Kenny Powell, Josh Schaffner, Brian Johnson, Brandon Pasalacqua, Chris D. Johnson, Greg Wachinski. So that's G&G from second place all the way to seventh, Brian. Think about that for a second.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good day. And here comes Schaffner back to the inside once again as we're coming up on 2 to go here in stage number 1. Can Schaffner get it done this time by? Looks like Schaffner definitely has the speed, a little bit more speed than Kenny Powell does. And I've watched Schaffner also do some A-Opens this week as well. He's been quite quick. Always is so good at saving tire, but it just looks like he's not quite able to get this pass. Well, he gets a good run through the center of 1 and 2. Powell is going to let him have it.
Yeah, Powell's going to wash up the racetrack there, probably thinking in his mind, like, come on, bro, let me go. And Josh Schaffner just keeps shaking his head no. So Powell's going to just – he's going to have to slip back now. Now he's going to be defending his position against the 4 of Brian Johnson because he's got Greg Wachinski nibbling on his heels as well, Brian. So, man, the hunter becomes a hunted.
Look at that. Kenny Powell tries to break the draft. That's something we haven't seen a whole lot here at Gateway so far here tonight. But that is a very, very valid strategy at this place. I mean, the straightaways are very long, which means breaking the draft is a valid technique.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's just got to hold off a couple more corners if he can get that done. I don't think he will because Brian Johnson looking on the inside. But here comes our leader, the 22 Scott Naslin. Looks like he is going to take the checkered flag there, if you will, the green checkered flag.
And he will. He will be the winner of stage number 1. Scott Naslin in first, Josh Schaffner second. Brian Johnson just barely able to take third away from Kenny Powell. Fourth place, Kenny Powell, who I just mentioned. Fifth place, Brandon Pasalacqua. Sixth, Chris Johnson. Seventh, Greg Wachinski. Eighth, Shane Parrish. Ninth, Alexander Carr. And 10th, Mark Sanchez. With that, we'll take a brief step away. We'll be right back, and we'll see if we can't chat up Mr. Naslin.
We believe it means more when something's made by hand here at Cracker Barrel. And we hope you think so too. So stop on by. You're always welcome.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, they are performing their yellow flag pit stops at the moment. Let's see who wins the race on pit road. As soon as this pit stop is completed, we will go ahead and bring up our Stage 1 winner, Scott Naslin. Big race off pit road. Josh Schaffner almost able to get the spot from Naslin. But it looks like Scott Naslin does take the lead off of pit road. I do believe we're going to be joined in the booth by him. Is he here, Big Al?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Naslin, you read me?
Yes, sir. How's it going tonight?
Doing fine, man. Looks like you got you a pretty fast race car. You're able to take the lead earlier and just kind of sail away to about a 3-second lead. How's that car feeling? What's the strategy here? Do you feel like did you have to make any adjustments?
I did tighten her up a hair. It is pretty loose on the long run, and we got a long night ahead of us, so I figure I don't want to chase it later, try to get on top of it now.
All righty, well, definitely. How do you like Gateway? It seems like a tough track, but it seems like you're managing.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at these go fast and slam on the brakes and turn left tracks.
Definitely seems like it for sure. You know, so how much practice do you think you put in at lap time or lap? How many amount of laps did you turn to get prepared for this race?
Oh, probably about 200 or so, plus all the races I ran this week.
Well, definitely seems like it's showing for sure. You know, this is a tough track. I know you've had some bad luck, I'd say, recently here in the ISCA. Do you think this is the race to turn it around?
Oh Lord, I hope so. It's been rough. Last week I screwed up and ran the 600 before I ran this race, knowing this race is longer than normal, and I was just too tired to race last week, to be honest.
Well, definitely glad to see you here tonight. Who can we give a shout out to after your Stage 1 victory?
Don Wheaton, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Cadillac, Bruzy Racewear, Team Watson Racing Setups, and Hyperforce Esports.
All right. Thanks for your time, Scott. I know you guys are getting ready to get back to it. Good luck to you.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Hey, sir, where are you headed? What do I send you back to?
EPI.
That was Scott Naslin, driver of the 22 Hyperforce Team Watson Chevrolet. Going to be starting here from the control position this time around. Of course, he has the person that's no slouch, Josh Schaffner, going to be starting above him now. This could be interesting. I mean, just considering how the restart kind of went before, we saw Brian Johnson, the control car, and Scott Naslin took the lead early. So what do you expect here, Big Al?
I expect pandemonium. With one to go, Brian, I think right now, hopefully these guys aren't desperate. I hope everybody was actually was able to go in, make the adjustments they needed. If they needed to make any adjustments, I hope they didn't throw their game plan out the window. So right now, like Mr. Naslin said, this is a very long race. We still got a long way to go here. So I hope that everybody kind of, has a plan at this point.
Yeah, I think that's for sure. Of course, this is going to be a little bit of another experiment for these drivers to see what they could do to adjust on these race cars for that final stage, which will be over 100 laps. I do believe 105 to be exact. Pace car has dipped down pit road as we get ready to enter the Geico restart zone, and the green flag flies for the second time here tonight. And what a restart for Scott Naslin. He caught everybody sleeping there. Of course, Josh Schaffner is able to slide right down in front of Brian Johnson for the second position.
Well, that's the advantage of having the start. If you're the leader, you get to pick. Once you're in that restart zone, you get to put the hammer down. And that's exactly what he did. He wants to set the tone. And now he wants to get out front early, Brian, and not have to worry about anything.
Taking a look on board with Brandon Pasalacqua right now. You can kind of see some of the speeds that these guys are hitting down the straightaways as he's going to try to possibly send it in on Brian Johnson. Not quite able to get there. You can even hear the shifting. Now, one thing about this racetrack that does make it so difficult is the shifting. You have to match the rev of the RPMs. As here comes Brandon Pasalacqua to the inside of the 4 machine on the exit.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like he is making moves, Brian, to the right way. Still got that 29 car running very high on the outside.
Seems like it's working for him, though. I mean, he's up in 10th. Alexander Carr, though, trying to see if he can't take the spot away from Brian Johnson. Johnson falls outside of the top 5 as we see Alexander Carr take that 5th place position. I'll tell you, the 18 looking really good tonight.
The 10 car just drifted around that last turn. Think he still has it pointed the right direction. No caution came out. 54 car, Randy Mullins, he's down on pit road right now.
Well, that is not good. Unscheduled pit stop, maybe a penalty possibly? So attrition is already setting in as Randy Mullins goes a lap down.
Yeah, he has a black flag.
Might have been maybe an unsafe pit exit or entry or a speeding penalty. It's interesting to see that. But here comes Josh Schaffner for the lead. Schaffner getting a little bit tight on the exit. You see Naslin really pinching him down. But I think Schaffner, he gets a good run off of turn 4. Still neck and neck across the start-finish line. These guys are not giving each other a whole lot of room here. And it looks like Schaffner is going to relent.
Now remember what happened to Brian Johnson. So you got to maybe assume that the G&G guys are running kind of a similar setup. So the one thing Schaffner needs to be very cautious of is don't get out there, put yourself in a position where you're going to wear your tires out. You know, because this is a even longer run than the first stage. So we know the speed that Naslin's car is capable of putting down. We know his lap times later on in the run. No one was matching that.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. But now Josh Schaffner has his share of the clean air. Will it be a similar story for him? I would assume, not to say, I mean, probably shouldn't assume, but Josh Schaffner and Scott Naslin, I'm assuming, are running very similar setups as well. Because I know that G&G is an affiliate team with the Team Watson group, and I know Scott Naslin as well is an affiliate of Team Watson. So I would assume they're on similar setups.
But Naslin never mentioned clean air.
He never did. You're right about that. We'll have to wait and see. And here comes Kenny Powell driving it in deep in 1 and 2 here. It's been some good racing, I'll tell you that. These guys are starting to pull away, though. Alexander Carr up to 4th. He got by Brandon Pasalacqua. Also, J.C. Evans looking really good right now. He's up to 6th place. I'm telling you what, those guys did such a fantastic job last week. All the guys we don't expect to be closer to the front were up front last week at Charlotte. And I think that did a tremendous thing for their confidence level. And a lot of times, that's all you need. It's just a little bit of confidence. And I think that's what J.C. Evans and Alexander Carr have at the moment.
Now that 54 car is back down and underway, and he is now currently being scored 3 laps down. So whatever that penalty was that he had, it seemed to be a doozy, Brian.
It definitely was. He probably had to spend 40 seconds in the box and unfortunately lost. And one thing about it as well is this place requires you to go down pit access roads and pit exit roads, which takes more time. And that's why he probably went 3 laps down. As we see, Mark Sanchez is really starting to make some headway here. He is now working on possibly trying to get by Greg Wyszynski. Sanchez is looking really strong here today.
Yeah, absolutely. But if we look up front here, we got Josh Schaffner, Scott Naslin, Kenny Powell, and Alexander Carr. That's that lead pack, and they're really kind of starting to get a little bit of a breakaway, Brian, over the 5th place car. Because the 5th place car is Brandon Pasalacqua, and they are starting to fall back a little bit. As a matter of fact, the gap between them and the leader is actually over 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, look at Alexander Carr. I mean, he's starting to catch these guys that are in the top 3 as well. Could Alexander Carr even have a chance to maybe get a victory here? I mean, that would be a special night for that driver there. I mean, I know if Charlotte was a confidence booster for him tonight, this would be even bigger. I mean, but I think it's all going to come down to, Big Al, at the end of this race, if we have an impromptu caution. And if the short-run cars are able to get tires right when they need them, that could change everything. All these guys that are a little bit more long-run centric might not have as good a luck if it comes down to a short run.
Well, we still have an astronomical amount of racing left to go. So, I mean, at this point, man, it could start raining on us. You know what I mean? So I don't want to start crowning champions just yet. Yeah. I'm just kind of watching how this thing's going to play out, because one thing I think is really definitely going to be a probability is some of these guys have ill handling race cars, and they might find themselves, this is a racetrack that is notorious for having drivers, get a case of the spins.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Very easy, especially when you have the shifting aspect of it as well. If you're in the wrong gear, you shift down. Very easy to shift down instead of up. I've seen that so many times at a track like this. And when you do accidentally shift down instead of up, a lot of times that spins the car out and can hurt the motor as well. As we were watching on board here with Al Kozlowski getting passed by Matt DeCiani. Looks like DeCiani makes the pass successfully. Just thought we'd thought Lyle Kozlowski has a pretty good view of all the race cars in front of him. Everybody pretty much in a line, very orderly, which I think won't be the case a little bit later here tonight.
Yeah, and passing here takes time. So a lot of guys think that just because you've eclipsed the car that was, in front of you, that it's over. But no, man, you still got to get through the turn. And with turns 3 and 4 being completely different than 1 and 2, that's a completely different story. The 27 of Derek Jacobs now down pit road again. That's going to play better for Randy Mullins, because one more lap, that's going to put Mullins up in the contention for that lucky dog. And, I mean, that's one lap closer to getting back in it.
Yeah, for sure. Could be a little bit of good luck for him if we get some cautions later in this race. Tell you what, Scott Naslin has stayed on Josh Schaffner's bumper for the last several laps. They are not going anywhere. And Kenny Powell also has been following right in the tire track. This has been an awesome race between these top 3. They are all very, very close on pace. You can see Naslin kind of backing off a little bit to get the runs off of for exit. But I think he's content. Oh, a little bit of a loose condition there for Naslin off of 2. That's going to allow Kenny Powell to possibly get alongside him. And he does.
Ooh, and the 27 of Derek Jacobs just left the building.
That is unfortunate for that 27 team. Very difficult track. Hate to see that for sure. Still side by side for second place as Naslin tries to hold off Kenny Powell. Powell sends it in through the middle groove. I think this middle groove, though, burns your equipment up. I heard it from Josh Schaffner. I was talking to him a few nights ago when he was doing an A Open, and he shared some really good words of wisdom about a racetrack like this. He says that you really got to run the bottom really low on the racetrack in order to save the tire. And you can see he's exemplifying that right now, all the way down to that curbing, and gets a really narrow exit. And he says that's the key to this racetrack.
Yeah, Brandon Pasalacqua not faring so well right now as he's just relinquished a position to the 4-car Brian Johnson. Been watching that 6-car, man, and I think his handling woes are just kind of still, his shoes don't seem to be fitting his feet real well right now.
Yeah, maybe he made an adjustment and it might not be working for him.
Yeah, he's definitely looking like he's got a little bit of a blister going there, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Shane Parrish, of course, he was struggling a little bit later in that last stage. Looks like he's not struggling anymore. He's up to now 6th position, trying to slowly but surely work his way back up to where he was before. Of course, J.C. Evans now up into the top 5, but he is being chased down by that 66. Definitely a fantastic race thus far here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you tuning in to the ISCA Thursday Cup Series. If you are interested in possibly joining this league, we definitely have room for you, and definitely some very clean racing. Some of the best racing, I'd say, on the iRacing service happens here on this Thursday night series. Some of the best racers out there participate out here, and if you want to learn to get better, this is the prime place to do it. Look up iRacing Stock Car Association on the iRacing League directory, or find Kenny Powell or the iRacing Stock Car Association Facebook, message that, and fill out you an application, and hopefully we'll get you out here and we'll call your name.
Well, Brian, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Like, what all do I need in order to be, in order to get here?
Well, I do believe they have it is a paid league. So you do have to pay, I do believe, a monthly subscription from what I remember.
Yes,
but you also have to have, I think you have to have a minimum of 2,000 iRating or something like that.
Okay, there you go. So you got to have a subscription. You got to have the equipment, and you got to have a great setup. Is there anywhere we could go to get all of that stuff?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of setup shops out there you could go to. I mean, a couple of them are represented out here on this racetrack here. I mean, speaking of which, EPI, they're definitely very good setups if you wanted to try to get better on your craft. Of course, Team Watson Racing Setups, another good one was to see Matt DeCiani get by Al Kozlowski once again. So it looks like DeCiani maybe starting to hit that struggle bus part of the run. Of course, I do believe we're going to have verging on 25. I think, 25 laps to go here in stage 2. But yeah, there's all kinds of setup shops out there that it just really depends on what your driving style. You're talking about like a rig?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because there's a lot of equipment that passes hands back and forth too. So for anybody watching this is even looking, I know there's plenty of places you can go to say if you've outgrown your wheel and pedals, or maybe somebody's getting out of iRacing, you could pick up a set for a great deal.
Yeah, there definitely are some options out there. I mean, you could look on the on the Facebook iRacing groups. A lot of times people are selling wheels and pedals on there. I just have a old Logitech G920. Works fine for me. And I some of the pros that run in the Coke series even just have a regular old G920, and it works well for them. It just really depends on how much you're wanting to spend.
Yeah, definitely. This hobby sport, it could get pretty expensive if you let it.
I do see a pass going on right now. I do believe Chris Johnson trying to get by J.C. Evans. Evans, of course, was up in the top 5 just a moment ago, but I think he might have had a moment that has caused him to lose quite a couple spots. He's now back into 11th place, trying to recover as he is being chased down by Matt DeCiani.
Kudos to Josh Schaffner. He has now actually got himself out to a second lead over his G&G teammate, Kenny Powell. Powell pulled up to a solid P2. He's got to be feeling pretty good about that as well. Scott Naslin now back in 3rd place as stage 2 is underway. So definitely seeing a little bit different styles of racing, different tactics of racing here in stage 2 than we did stage 1, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think that the big thing here that I think clean air is important. I feel like that's why Schaffner's starting to pull away. It almost looks exactly like what Naslin was able to do in stage 1. So I think that this is guys are taking notes right now. They're looking at this. They're like, okay, Naslin pulled away in stage 1. Schaffner's got the clean air. He's pulling away here in stage 2. That means I need to get that clean air.
How much blocking you think is actually occurring from Schaffner's G&G teammate Kenny Powell there? Because he's sitting in P2. You think he's even kind of dragging his feet a little bit to keep Naslin at bay?
I don't think so. I think Kenny Powell's just running his pace right now, and I think he's a little bit quicker than Naslin at the moment. But we did see Kenny start to struggle a little bit later in stage 1, so we'll have to see if he does throw some blocks. I mean, this is a good track to throw blocks, just considering guys are going to get really good runs on exit on you, but if you just stay right in their way, they can't really do anything about it. So it's really going to take Scott Naslin stepping out of his comfort zone to probably get around Powell, unless he's going to have to really wait for him to make a mistake. A lot like what you see at a road course. You follow behind a guy until he makes a mistake. You just try to be in his rearview mirror. Yeah, I think Powell looks pretty good right now. I think he's got a top 3 race car. I don't know if he's got the speed to win it. If he got clean air, he might.
I don't know. I don't think you can count him out at this point, man. He had a solid stage 1 finish, and he's running in stage 2, and looks like right now he is calling his own shots. So, I mean, yeah, definitely would like to see what that 24 has to offer, but I don't think he's showing his whole hand right now.
No, probably not. We just saw Randy Mullins get by Matt DeCiani. Of course, Mullins is still, I do believe, 3 laps down. Also, Brandon Poslaka, we talked about him struggling. Well, he is getting a mirror full of Greg Wyszynski right now. And I know that the race that Kenny Powell won in the officials, Greg Wyszynski finished in 2nd behind him. So do not sleep on that 5 machine. Wyszynski has been running a very quiet season this season, but he's been quick. He's been top 10 material every race he's been in.
Got that 10 car, Blair Holloman. You know, I remember I said he kind of drifted through the turn a little bit earlier. Now he is on pit road as well. So we watch it and see exactly what happens. Also, the one of Matt DeCiani down pit road, he is actually taking a tow, so not sure what's going on with that car as well. DeCiani's gone. Blair Holloman's gone.
I want to see if I can figure out what happened to DeCiani here.
Yeah, not sure what happened, but I'll tell you one thing that did happen, just like that, Scott Nashland has actually made it by the 24 Kenny Powell, so now he is back up into second place.
Taking a look back at this, we did find big hit for DeCiani. That could have broke the toe link. He hit the wall out of turn 2, and I think that's what sent him down pit road. As you can see right here, yep, he starts to come down pit road. I think he just, car's damaged. These cars, you mentioned it, these cars not like bricks anymore. They're more like eggs. You know, you easy to crack them, and I think DeCiani cracked.
Unfortunate. Now that 22 is back out in front there. Now we're gonna be watching to see exactly what occurs between the 22 and the 50. But Josh Hoffner, man, the Iceman cometh. Nothing we can take away from his run here in stage 2 of tonight's featured event. The 82 of Jeffrey Ford. He is going to be the car that we'll be watching to see if he can actually stay on the lead lap or not, Brian.
Yeah, definitely. Beautiful race car, too. I love that paint scheme. Very patriotic. Hopefully he does stay on the lead lap. It's going to be a close one, though, I do believe. And looking at it, I think he is now 22, 23 seconds back from the leader. So he still has a good 10 to 12 second buffer right now. So if he just keeps going on with this pace, I don't think he's going to go a lap down, just considering we're coming up to 12 laps in the stage. See Shane Parrish trying to break the draft here on Brian Johnson at the moment. Doesn't seem like it slowed down Johnson in the slightest, though.
Yeah, Johnson definitely seems like he has kind of got that car pointed in the wind on the outside of the 66 of Parrish. There he goes, trying to make that position his own. That is going to be for P5. Now that Parrish has got passed by Johnson, he needs to be watching out for Greg Wachinski, as he now seems to be trying to claw his way up to the front as well.
Yeah, I think this is that moment where Parrish is starting to struggle. I think that his tire wear just does not seem to be working for him. He's going to have to make some more adjustments to that race car. I'm hoping he's going to be able to do something, because I know that he's been so fast, so consistent. One of these days, we're going to see that 66 in victory lane. I have no doubts about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to be consistent, which means you just got to persevere. Right now, Schaffner in the lead, though. Looks like at this time by it will be 10 laps to go in this stage. 10 laps remaining in stage 2 before it's in the books. This is go time, ladies and gentlemen.
Another driver we haven't talked a whole lot about is Frank Flores. He's sitting in the 14th position right now. Seems like he's struggling a little bit, but he's still hanging on. You got to admire these guys that are struggling. They're still out here. This is a track that it's very hard to drive. I mean, it's one of those tracks that you really have to do a lot of practice. And even if you do a lot of practice, sometimes you still don't get it right. I mean, this place takes such a, I'd say, unique skill set. And just I do admire the guys that are still willing to turn laps out here. It's very easy to quit. But Frank Flores, I don't think he's got quit in his body.
Yeah, I mean, and right behind him, the 19 of Jamie Wright making his inaugural performance here tonight. Got to give our hats off to him, because he's doing well. And Jeffrey Ford keeping that bad boy on the lead lap as well. Randy Mullins battling back through adversity. Had a little bit of a black flag condition earlier. Still out there trying to maintain his position, because right now he is the only contender for the lucky dog, Brian, with one more. I mean, yeah, he's still not out of this thing either. So we got 17 cars remaining out of the 22 that started, and I think all 17 have a possibility at getting it in.
Interesting strategy here. I'm wondering what is Shane Parrish thinking. He's bringing it down pit road.
I think he burned it up. think he burned his tires up.
Maybe he did. He could. I think very well he did. But I think he might also be taking this as a gamble to maybe get track position.
Man, you're not going to get anything by short pitting I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, he'll get the positions, but I think that his tires are going to be much different than the rest of these guys. Even 5-lap tire difference is enough you'll see a considerable difference. But he is taking tires.
He's going to go 2 laps down at least.
Yeah, he just went 1 lap down just now. Unfortunate for him. Not sure what the thought process was there. I just think that struggling so much, I think he might have just given up. Or, like you said, just might have needed to come down. I mean, hopefully he gets back out there. I know Shane, usually you don't see a lot of quit in that driver, but the car must be really just not functioning the way he needs it to right now.
He's gone.
Sad to see that. I hate that. He had a really good qualifying effort. Top 10 in stage 1. I'd hoped he'd have held on just to get the stage points.
Yeah, but once you come down pit road like that, man, in the middle of the stage, you're gonna go at least 3 laps down.
And that's going to really also play into later in the race, too, because these guys got to do a green flag stop unless we have a caution. But it seems like we probably won't have a caution, just considering how green it has been thus far. That means they're going to be required to do a green flag stop. And if you go 3 laps down, required pretty much, that makes that decision to go down pit road that more weighty, wouldn't you say?
Well, I think you're going to have to do a lot of things between now and then in order to help yourself in that situation. Number one, I think you come down pit road twice at the end of the stage. Top that car off, get as much gas in it as you can. Number two, I hope you already done some scientific experiments with the tire situation, because do you need to take all 4? I mean, it might be a situation where you come in and take either left sides or right sides, depending on what you've looked at and observed, because these guys got a tire engineer down there is letting them know what they're doing. You know what I mean? What side of, and if the driver's been able to make any adjustments as well, that's another thing you're going to be looking at, Brian. So a lot of things going into this situation. But Josh Schaffner, the every ingredient he's putting into his cake that he's baking is just, I mean, sweet. I mean, he's baking himself quite a little tasty pastry.
Yeah, he definitely is. I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you what, one thing that has blown my mind here recently is the viability of a 2-tire stop. Usually that was never something that anybody would ever consider on iRacing, but iRacing has really developed the tire model to where it is something that you can consider doing. I don't think I would do it here at a track like this. Charlotte last week, yes, I would definitely consider it. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I don't have enough experience seeing people take 2 tires. I think that if possibly you had a 30-lap run and a caution came out, yeah, consider it. Because, I mean, and if you don't have a lot to go till the end of the race, then, yeah, that could very much work out because it'll give you track position, and the car doesn't seem like it behaves too poorly when you take 2 tires. But we'll have to wait and see if that's going to be a factor. I mean, it could easily be something that the winning call of the race. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Of course, Josh Schaffner, he is poised and ready to win Stage 2, though. 1 to go here when he hits the start-finish line this time by.
So he's definitely got to be feeling pretty good about his position as well as his performance here, because Schaffner has pretty much dominated all the entirety of Stage 2. So definitely going to be excited to talk to him at the end of this thing and figure out exactly what all went into his little, hey, tell us about the cake you baked.
Yeah, he's definitely got a pretty good recipe right there for sure. And he's got a similar gap to what Scott Naslin had at the end of Stage 1. So I really do think clean air is a big deal. And I think that's going to really light a fire underneath Scott Naslin when it comes to these pit stops to try to win the race off pit road.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait to ask Schaffner that question here. And as he comes around turn 4 for the final time in the stage, that Stage 2 flag should be flying, and that's going to put Schaffner as the Stage 2 winner.
And there it is. Yellow flag is out for Stage 2. Josh Schaffner, your Stage 2 winner. Scott Naslin second. Kenny Powell in third. Alexander Carr fourth. Greg Wyszynski fifth. Brian Johnson sixth. Chris Johnson seventh. Brandon Pasalaco at 8th, Mark Sanchez 9th, and J.C. Evans rounds out the top 10 points-paying positions. With that, we'll be right back, and we'll go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And I do believe Big Al's going to be talking to Josh Schaffner. See you in a moment.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten. If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so talking, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, they are performing their second yellow flag pit stops here of the night as we have completed stage number 2. We'll have to wait and see who wins the race off pit road here, as I do believe everybody taking 4 sets of tires. And this, of course, will be the beginning of stage 3 when the real race starts. Looks like Josh Schaffner wins the race off pit road. I do believe Big Al is going to have him joining us up in the booth.
Hey, Josh Schaffner, Big Al up in the booth. You got me?
That's your loud and clear, Big Al.
Hey, congratulations on your stage 2 win, man. That was an awesome performance you put on there. Almost a dominating performance.
Yeah, it was. I had a good stage 1 there. Just kind of had a little cooler track tonight and needed to get a little bit of an understanding of the pace and just a little different. Haven't been on this cool of a track all week at 100 degrees. And yeah, kind of figured out what I could do and really wanted to get out to clean air and see what the car had. And I raced Scott. Maybe I don't think either of us wanted to race that hard, but I wanted to get out front, and I think it was the right call to get out front and get clean air. And overall, we had a pretty clear sail and the rest of the way.
So you said clean air twice. So is clean air really that big of a factor here tonight?
Yeah, I think it is, and I think the big thing is, if you get back, say, to 4th or 5th place as you navigate some side-by-side and passing, the car out front, if you're side-by-side, you're probably giving up maybe half a second or maybe a little more a lap, and if you can build a second lead and then kind of maybe back your pace up to them as they're trying to catch up, I just think you can save tires and it works out really well. So going to try to keep it out front. I'm sure Scott's going to push hard here because he knew what clean air was like in the first stage, and it'll be interesting. But boy, it's going to be a long run here. If we split this run, it's going to be the longest green flag runs we ran all night coming up here for stage 3.
So just one more question here, and then we'll get into your shout outs. Once you get to that green flag pit strategy, what are you thinking? 4 tires, or are you going to try to wing it with 2 in order to get out of pit road faster?
4 and fuel.
4 and fuel. Okay. Well, before we let you go, because I understand you got to get back to work, who are you shouting out here tonight for your stage 2 win?
Yeah, I want to thank the ISCA, you guys in the booth. Obviously, Kenny does a great job. You guys do great every week. And I want to thank the G&G team. We put a lot of work in this week. I want to thank TWRS and Kenny Coppola. Great set all week. And, made a few small tweaks here. And I think we're heading the right direction. I also want to thank Pioneer Seeds, Smith Farms, and all the sponsors that make this thing go round.
Roger that, sir. Congratulations again. And we look forward to talking to you at the end of this thing.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Miguel.
That was Josh Schaffner, driver of the 50 machine. Definitely a fantastic performance there in stage 2. This is when the race truly begins, though, as we have 105 laps to go till the end. Now, a lot of times when you get past that halfway point, Big Al, that's when things start to break loose a little bit for these drivers. They get a little bit more antsy, a little bit more intense, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because right now they've been in that wheelhouse for quite a while, Brian. So, the tempers are starting to flare. The temperatures are starting to rise. Right now, they're understanding that it's all down to the driver at this point. He's got to get the car in a position that he is actually gaining positions, keeps it in one pace, brings it down pit road, gets 4 tires, gets fuel, gets back out there, and gets going again.
And what an attrition race we've had as well. 15 cars on the lead lap. We started out with 22. Pace car has dipped down pit road, and the green flag is back out. Josh Schaffner wasting no time to press that loud pedal as we see Kenny Powell and Greg Wyszynski battling side by side. Powell getting up really close to Wyszynski. Wyszynski sails it into 1 and 2, runs a little bit higher. He's going to get cleared for third.
Yeah, he's got to do just that because these guys up front are understanding that they've got to set the pace. That's the thing. They got to get and run at a pace that is comfortable enough for them, Brian, but yet too fast for the guys behind them because that's going to bring that attrition level. That's going to make it even higher, and that's what we're looking for here.
And you see a side-by-side battle developing here. Brandon Pasalacqua trying to get by Alexander Carr, but not quite able to do so. Carr remains in the 6th place position, and I cannot say enough good things about this 18. I mean, he has been looking great here, and you got to be happy to see that as well, as he's the best performing Ford tonight. Of course, Josh Schaffner still in the lead here as we start stage number 3. Of course, he talked to Josh Schaffner mentioned about splitting this run in half. Now, we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. Do they come in at around 60, lap 60, or 160, I should say? I think that's what I would guess. Some guys might go a little bit longer, though. I think that could be a good strategy as well. This is a track that overcutting is a valid strategy.
Yeah, I think you need to stay out as long as you possibly can because that's going to put you down pit road the least possible amount of time. Just get enough fuel in to finish the race, if you will. So it's right now it's just a chess match.
Tell you what, who's playing chess and has just gotten kinged? Greg Wyszynski. He's up to 3rd right now. This is the best position he's been in so far tonight. And he's trying to see if he can't possibly chase down Scott Naslin. I think he's gotten faster and faster as the night has progressed. Of course, he is still being pressured by Kenny Powell. Here comes Powell to the inside into 3 and 4, and it looks like he's going to send it right on in. Does Wyszynski do a crossover? We know that even though they're teammates, they call each other brothers. Wyszynski and Kenny Powell have a known history of beating and banging with each other.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're here to do. I mean, we did not come here to, pat each other on the back. This is not the Navy, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this is more like
oh, Lord. You got some probably mad Navy people out there now.
They'll be all right. Anchors away.
There you go. Here comes Brandon Pasalacqua trying to look on the inside of Alexander Carr, not quite able to get there.
And I'm going to say this about both Brandon and Alexander. Brandon has showed so much patience here tonight because, hey, when he left here 3-4 weeks ago, I mean, he was out front dominating. As we're halfway through this thing on this return, he has kind of been in traffic. And Brian, one thing you don't want to see, you don't want to see Big Al in traffic. I don't look good in traffic.
Yeah, I tell you what, Alexander Carr showing a little bit of patience there as well. He got really close to the back bumper of Brian Johnson. Could have easily turned him or gave him a little bit of a bump, but did not. I think he got on the brakes just in time, ran close to him. Has a lot of car control in that race car. It seems like Gateway very much is suiting him.
Yeah, his growth, man, is just exponential here at this point. Totally showing a tremendous amount of maturity. It's like I don't look good right now. I got on lime green shorts and red socks, but this kid, he looks elegant.
Yeah, he definitely does. Doesn't look like the same Alexander Carr we've seen in previous races, that's for sure. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, I
almost feel like somebody else is driving that race car.
That's what I was trying to say. I'm saying he's more defined now, almost like some Grey Poupon.
And I said it before, and I'll say it again. I think that when you do well in one race, it can turn around your every race after that. It really can.
Well, I think it's been more than just one race. I just don't think we've been paying as much of attention. That's all I'm saying. I mean, flowers, trees falling in the woods, bears crapping, and whatever. It's all good. Tomatoes are growing. Yeah, look at Josh Schaffner go.
He is pulling away 0.8 of a second as we see Brandon Pasalakwa finally able to make the pass on Alexander Carr. Here comes Chris Johnson. Of course, Johnson started, as you mentioned before, in 17th place and is all the way up here now to 8th. Let's see if he can make it even better. I mean, he's been fast all night long. Been very impressed with that 99 speed.
Look, right now he's running his race, and that's the thing. Everybody has to keep to their own playbook. Unless something happens to your car or your position that totally throws you off your strategy, you kind of got to stay to the playbook, because that's what's going to win this thing for you. You're not going to win it by doing something totally different. You're going to win it by, persevering and actually trying to find that one little nick, that one advantage that you're going to gain. Schaffner using that advantage as clean air, and that's the one thing that Scott Naslund didn't mention. Josh Schaffner did. He mentioned it twice in the interview that I had with him, and I kind of asked him that question. Is clean air that much of an advantage? And yeah, Brian, I think we're seeing it. I think we're seeing exactly how much of an advantage you're getting with clean air.
Here we go. Greg Wachinski on the inside of Kenny Powell going into 1 and 2. I think Wachinski wants that third spot back, and I think he's going to get it as he closes in even on Scott Naslund. Will Kenny Powell respond with a crossover? It looks like he's not quite able to do so.
I don't think it's time. And what I mean when I say that is, I think we've got a long way to go. 95 laps to go. This is the longest stage that they've been out here. So still some 20 laps before they're even capable of making it on fuel.
Yeah, and when the fuel window opens, I don't think anybody's going to really take that option. I think that tires are way more important.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, because we're watching those lap times and they're falling off. I mean, almost in some cases 2 seconds. But the biggest thing, though, that we're seeing here in stage 3, if you will, that is there's a lot more competitive racing. I mean, these cars are lined up right now, and they're literally kind of like nose to tail. So a lot of guys are probably being drug along maybe at a faster pace than they would want to be.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of these guys are getting pushed to go a little bit faster than they probably want to go. I think you're exactly right. You see Chris Johnson thinking about going to the inside of the 18.
Yeah, because for our viewers at home, this is the same part of the trip where, next thing you know, you're running 90 miles an hour when, you're like, maybe I only want to run 80. And you only want to run 80 for a reason, because it's fuel economy, it's tire wear, but right now you find yourself in a situation where you're just running with the pack. And although that feels good right now at lap, what lap are we on? At lap 109, it's not going to work out so well once you get to lap, say, 129.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're only 16 laps into this stint right now. But, yeah, eventually these guys, what they do now will affect them later. As you see Kenny Powell gets by Greg Wachinski again. These guys are battling back and forth, and this is allowing Scott Naslund to pull away a little bit here. A little bit of a wiggle off of turn 2 from Alexander Carr.
But you understand what I'm saying? The fact that Kenny Powell and Greg Wachinski are swapping spots like that lets you know exactly how hard these guys are battling down here. And these two guys are teammates.
Yeah, and I think it's going to catch up to them. I think they should just try to stay in the line and run a certain pace. But I just the way they are very competitive with one another. Being good friends, a lot of times that competitive nature does come out. And at their detriment sometimes as well.
We're watching stage 3 unfold. For those of you just joining us, welcome to the ISCA's Cracker Barrel 250. We're at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. I'm Al Nixon, and you're joined up in the booth by my co-host, my my compadre. I got a life-size portrait of this man on my bedroom wall, Brian Britt.
I hope not. Lord, that's kind of scary.
We've not had many lap changes for the lead. I think we've had a total of 2.
I think so, yeah.
Or 3. Yeah, but Josh Schaffner has been leading the way here thus far. He's the winner of stage 2. Scott Nassler won stage 1, and we are well within our we're in the groove here, if you will. Stage 3 is well underway. 88 laps to go.
Yep. Chris Johnson just made the pass on Alexander Carr, now up to 7th place. Now he comes up to his brother, Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson's been struggling. Qualified on the pole, but just has not had the right balance on that race car, and going to be possibly even laying in some adjustments for the green flag stops that possibly come up. This is a tough track to put adjustments in a race car, too, when you're out here under green. Because, I mean, you're having to worry about shifting, braking points, and all that. And there's not a lot of time in between that in order to adjust the car. And that's where it pays, really, to have, I'd say, that crew chief. If you have a good friend that you trust to be kind of acting as your crew chief, he can put those adjustments in for you. But look at this. Schaffner's starting to get caught by Naslin. Only 0.6 is the lead. He was over a second before.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the cards have been dealt, but it's about it all comes out to when you play what cards.
Has Schaffner maybe overheated his tires, or is he doing what Schaffner does? We've seen Schaffner do this before, to where he'll get out to a lead, back it up to cool the tires down, and just maintain the gap. He doesn't need to build it too much. He just wants to keep Naslin behind him. So that is going to be, I think, a big thing here. I think that Josh, he's always a smart racer. He's very methodical, very calculated with how he drives these races. And that's kind of why you always dub him as the Iceman. Because, I mean, he's, I would assume cold as ice. He's methodical. He makes his decisions purposely.
That's why he has been dubbed the Iceman, Brian. But this is one of those situations where everyone is holding their cards close. 85 laps to go in this thing. Still 10 laps out of the fuel window. Still a ways from when anybody would even consider that. But yet, we're looking at over a second fall off in lap times.
Yeah, and it's going to continue. This is going to be the longest run we've seen, even with adding that green flag pit stop. Of course, both the stages were about 40 to 45 laps. This is going to be more of like a 50 to 60 lap run here. So these guys are definitely going to be putting this car through its paces, and we'll have to see. We're going to be in a little bit of an unknown territory.
So let me ask you this question. Once it comes down to green flag pit stops and you're looking at guys, are you coming in on the same lap with everybody else? Are you risking that? Or are you going to kind of maybe come in on the next lap? How does that fall out? What are you looking at? Do you need the cars around you to gauge your speed and your time?
I think that, yeah, even one lap is different. Like, if you wait one lap extra than someone else, that could be an advantage based on tires. Just one lap. I mean, the tires are so important at this racetrack. As we were looking on through the nose camera of Brandon Poncelakis, he actually made the pass on Wachinski. Love this camera angle right here.
I guarantee you, not a lot of these guys have even experienced doing green flag pit stops at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. You don't really get the advantage, the opportunity to do that, because why would you, right? But tonight, I guarantee you, someone's going to have to demonstrate it, and I can't wait to see who's proficient and who's not.
Well, yeah, a lot of other tracks, that we go to in the ISCA schedule, the pit road is not as complicated. I mean, you don't have to go down an access road. That is another layer that you can make a huge mistake going down an access road. You get on the gas a little too hard, you go into the grass. And that could be a killer for your race. You hit that grass. You don't have any grip down there. You're going to lose speed.
Heck no, there's no grip down there. And when these guys are trying to get that thing down the pit road with those access roads, and what a lot of people don't understand is the speed is relegated, or regulated. Yeah, both. So you got to watch your P's and Q's. And so whoever is the smoothest in and stays on that mark all the way around, into the box, out of the box, that's going to be the guy that's going to win this thing. I think this race is going to be won or lost on pit road.
No, I agree totally. There's so many room for error, or not room for error. Not room for error. There's not room for error. And so that's going to – I think you're right. I mean, and, could Schaffner make a mistake on pit road? It could very easily happen. And, that would change the whole complexion of this entire race. As we saw Brian Johnson just make the pass on Greg Wycinski. Here comes Chris Johnson to the inside into 1 and 2. Looks like Wycinski's starting to struggle a little bit. And I think him battling with Kenny Powell as hard as he was is starting to catch up with him. And look at Mark Sanchez. Sanchez is
these
really
guys
good.
These guys were out there battling it out, and they were slugging. And I'm like, hey, it's only the first 10 seconds of the round. This round's going to last a lot longer than 10 seconds, guys. This is a marathon. So, and it's just what we were talking about. Now some of these guys are going to be feeling that. But here's the deal. We're 3 laps away from that green flag pit window opening. And you're going to start to see, look, Wycinski, not Wycinski, but Keselowski, he's down on the pit road access window right now. Not even having enough laps to go. He's going to have to push this thing. And I think that's what I was afraid that we were going to see happening. Guys that just couldn't wait to get down pit road. And now that he's already popped the cork, Brian, I think a lot of people are going to be stepping up to take a drink.
Yeah, I'm showing Al hasn't went down pit road. I know Frank Flores, I think he's 1 lap down right now.
Oh, Frank Flores, the 8 car. My bad. The 88 is showing the 8, but on my screen I see the 8. Frank Flores, Triple F. My bad. Triple F, Frank Flores, down pit road right now. My apologies to Al Keselowski. He is still running around the ring route. But, yeah, you're right.
Looks like he's out of the race car, too. Yeah, I think Frank might have given it up here. I think the car's just not running as well as he needs it to. And it's such a tough track. So easy to slide a tire just the wrong way, and it ruins those tires. And I think that's what's going on with him. And look at Alexander Carr. I mean, he was looking so strong in Stage 2. And now he's in 10th. So he's not doing as good as he was previously.
Yeah, I think his tires are coming into their own. But the one thing, the difference is if we're looking at the gap between the leader and 12th place car of Al Keselowski, because that is that lead group, we'll call it. Earlier it was at some 13 seconds. This time it's only down to 9 seconds. So these guys are keeping a far tighter shot group here as we get into the last stage, Brian.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of it is as well. Having more seat time is really helping these guys out. Stage 1 and 2, they got a little bit more of a better handle on their car and are realizing, hey, this is how I need to do it to save the tire. And it's working out a lot better for them. Tell you what, though, Schaffner definitely has been dominant ever since he's gotten the lead. But you see Scott Naslin, he has not gone very far. I mean, I'm wondering if Naslin's maybe not playing his full hand yet. I think he's trying to save tire himself. You see, I think what Naslin's doing, he's backing up his runs in the center and then getting the drive off. You see that he starts to catch up to Schaffner on exit.
Greg Wycinski, pit road.
Well, this is very early for Wycinski to be coming down. I think he might have scorched his tires. Looks like, let's see if he hopefully doesn't quit here.
Said that earlier. No, I think it's a green flag pit stop. I mean, I think it's a legitimate green flag pit stop. It's the first one that we're going to see. Like you said, the 4 car now coming down pit road, that's Brian Johnson. So these guys are really, they kind of pushed it a little bit, I think. And now they're like, yeah, it was a little bit longer of a run than we thought. But, yeah, so we have no choice now.
This is really early. They might be on a little bit of an alternate strategy, maybe pit twice.
Absolutely. Take left sides, then take right sides.
Maybe. I don't know.
But Wachinski, 14.4 seconds in the box.
And that's indicative of a 4-tire stop.
4 tires and fuel, baby. Johnson, the same thing. Johnson's out, 14.5 seconds, so that's 4 tires and fuel.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's worth it to do a 2-stop instead of a 1, because I feel like, yes, the fall off is great, but it's not great enough, I think, to make up that amount of time. I mean, considering you have to add the time you spend on the pit access road, pit lane itself, and in the box, I mean, that's over a minute. And we've seen it. It makes you go 3 laps down. So do you want to add another stop? I think those guys did that because they had to. I think that they burned their stuff up too much.
Yeah, absolutely. And what else would have driven them to stop? And that's what I'm saying. You set goals, but sometimes guys get caught up in other people's lives instead of, sticking their own playbook. And I think that's what you're seeing with those two. They just kind of got in a situation where they got excited, maybe went a little faster, a little sooner than they needed to. You know what I mean? Look, I'm up here with you because I'm far better at talking than I am driving. I mean,
yeah, me too, brother. Chris Johnson, though, moves up to 4th. He just got by Brandon Passalacqua. He is about 3 seconds back from Kenny Powell, though, the next position that he could possibly get. But Chris Johnson's definitely looking good. He's actually catching up to Kenny. Let's see. We'll want to have to keep an eye on this 99. He's been looking really good the last couple laps.
And I'm going to tell you, I do feel inspired as the 54 of Randy Mullins comes down pit road that the guys that have pitted have only gone down a lap. So that is the best news for anybody out there that's still running, is that you can actually make a green flag pit stop, 4 tires and fuel, spend 4 to 14.7 and not go more than a lap down. That's the best takeaway. So if any of you guys that are out there running this race or listening to the broadcast right now, that's the best news I have to give to you, is that you can actually make a 4-tire fuel stop. And just when I said that, the 54 car of Randy Mullins, he's not going to get out in time.
Yeah, it looks like
Mullins
he is going to go 3 laps down. Yeah, he might have got a penalty. We've already seen him get a penalty tonight before, so could he get another one?
No, he doesn't have a penalty. No penalty shown. I don't know if he's just maybe parking it. Yep, he is manually disconnected.
So that leaves us with only 12 cars on the lead lap right now. So Randy Mullins.
Man, this has been a race of attrition.
It really has. And we haven't had any wrecks either. That's the crazy thing about it, is that we haven't had any wrecks, but the attrition is more of the tires.
Yep, seems that some guys, I don't know. I don't want to ride a horse with 3 legs either.
Yeah, I just think that this is a tough track, and it's easy to do it wrong. It's very easy to burn those tires up, and then once you get a few laps down and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, you just kind of give up. And it's not the best thing to do, but it's understandable just how difficult this racetrack is. When you're not fast at a track like this, it's just no fun.
Like I said, nobody wants to ride a 3-legged horse. Not in the Derby.
And you can look at the tire difference here. Greg Wachinski getting by Kenny Powell like he's not moving. Of course, him being on the fresher tires.
But that's what got Greg Wachinski in that position, that he now has to burn those tires to try to get that lap back. The other guys still going to stay on strategy, Brian, and I do believe they're on task to only stop one time, as we do have now 66 laps to go, and none of those guys are showing any signs of slowing down nor pitting.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. You mentioned Greg Wachinski and Brian Johnson. If they were having such issues that they had to come down pit road earlier, those issues aren't going to go away. They're going to, in the next 30 laps, going to have that same issue pop up once again. I think Josh Schaffner definitely has the pace to get this thing done. Definitely got to give a shout out to Mr. Jay Wright in the 19 machine. First race we've seen him out here, and he is in 11th position. Of course, He is a little over 15 seconds back from the leaders, but still, gotta applaud this driver for sticking with it.
Yeah, Jamie Wright definitely putting down a great show here tonight in his inaugural showing here. And I got to love the fact that he's running that Ford Mustang as well, Brian.
I think he's in a Toyota.
You're right. Jamie Wright is. Jeffrey Ford in the 82 is in the Ford Mustang. Look, you know me, man. I'm going to try to put everybody in a Ford.
Everybody's running a Ford. They just don't know it.
You know the reason why Ford doesn't make hers?
What's that?
Because see, a Cadillac and a Chevy will take you and drop you, but a Ford's going to take you and bring you back.
Well, maybe they should make Fords into hers, because then they might be able to raise the dead, apparently. I'll do a quick rundown through the top 10 here, though. Josh Schaffner up in the lead by over 2 seconds now. Scott Naslin's in second. Kenny Powell in third. Chris Johnson's in fourth. Fifth place, Brandon Passalacqua. Sixth, Mark Sanchez. Seventh, J.C. Evans. Eighth, Alexander Carr. Ninth, Greg Carr. And 10th, Al Kozlowski right now. We are coming up very close to seeing green flag stops from the rest of the drivers. We only have, I do believe now, 13 drivers on the lead lap. Greg Wyszynski just got his lap back the hard way. Brian Johnson just got his lap back as well, so that leaves 14 on the lead lap.